When I first started paying off 6 figures of debt, I'm not going to lie to you, I thought it was going to be this perfect, straightforward journey. Like every month, we would send X number of dollars to debt. It would feel amazing and we would never hit any roadblocks. We were just always going to be on this upwards journey.
What could go wrong?
Well, that was not the case. Looking back, there are 3 things that I really wish someone would have told me before we even started paying off debt. And if you are working to pay off debt right now, or you want to pay off debt, then this video is definitely for you. Hey there, my name's Allison Baggerly from Inspired Budget. I've written a book called Money Made Easy, and my husband and I paid off 6 figures worth of debt on 2 teacher salaries. So you know we weren't making a fortune. And it also took us what I think is a long time. It honestly wasn't too long looking back. It took us 4.5 years. So we weren't this like story where people made a ton of money and paid off debt in like 6 months. No, we were everyday people with a lot of debt. And I want to share with you what I wish I knew before we got started on our debt-free journey. The first thing that I wish I knew is that your income does not determine your outcome. My husband is still a teacher. I was a teacher. And when we first got married, we were making somewhere around $85,000 combined. And to be honest, the idea of ever making 6 figures combined, it just seems so far-fetched. And because we didn't make 6 figures each, or honestly over 6 figures together, I truly thought that debt was just going to be a part of our life forever. I really, really did. It wasn't until we had our rock bottom moment when we realized that we were unexpectedly pregnant and we were going to have a baby, and how are we going to afford daycare if I definitely can't be a stay-at-home mom? So we basically gave ourselves 9 months to clear up as much debt as possible so we could afford daycare whenever our son came around. But truly, I honestly just thought because of our income, we would never get out of debt. We would always have student loans. We would always have car loans. We would always kind of rely on credit cards. I wish I knew that your income doesn't determine what you're able to do. I'm a firm believer that you don't need this massive salary to make progress on your debt-free journey. Does having a higher income help? Of course it does. But I've worked with hundreds of people who make a lot of money and are still struggling, living paycheck to paycheck because of the decisions that they've made. And our family is proof that you don't have to be a doctor, a lawyer, a computer scientist, or even make $100,000 a year or more to become debt-free. What you need instead is a plan that works. And I'm not gonna lie, you need to be more diligent. You have to ultimately live on less so that way you can find extra money to pay off debt. That goes for anyone, no matter how much money you're making. But it ultimately comes down to a plan and your actions. Like I said, does making more money help you reach that goal faster? Yeah. Absolutely. That's obvious. But that doesn't mean just because you don't make a high salary, it does not mean that you're going to be stuck in debt forever. And that's honestly the mentality I had. I figured that because we were 2 teachers, teachers are notoriously not paid well, we were not bringing home the big bucks. I honestly believed that debt was just going to be something that we were going to live with forever. But I realized that budgeting, paying off debt on our salary, on our combined teacher income was not only possible, but we could do it within a time frame that didn't feel like forever. Now, like I said, it took us 4.5 years to become debt-free, but that's with paying for 2 kids in daycare eventually, and with making sacrifices, choosing to be very intentional with how we were spending our money, and kind of looking through our spending through this lens of what are we willing to sacrifice now in our present moment so that we can live in abundance later. And when I looked back at it, we had 2 small kids. I was willing to forego a lot of experiences, a lot of things, a lot of luxuries so that later on in life, like right now, we can go on those vacations. We can spend money how we want because the only debt payment we have is our mortgage. We drive 2 paid off cars. No, they're not very nice, but I would rather use that money that I would be putting towards a car payment towards vacation or experiences with my family. However, it took me time. It took me years truly years to overcome that lie, that belief that if I don't make good money, good, right? I'm putting good in like air quotes here because what is good money? It all is dependent on your own experiences, your life experiences. I truly believed the lie that if we don't make good money, we won't be able to pay off debt and we'll just always have it. So your income does not necessarily determine your outcome. Your income helps you reach your outcome. But like I said, you could be making $200,000, $300,000 a year and still be living paycheck to paycheck. And we're seeing that more and more often. Now, I'm a big believer in you walking away with like action items, action tips, homework, if you will. Maybe it's the teacher in me. I was a teacher for 10 years. Maybe it's that version of me that wants you to like have something tangible to do. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to get a journal, or you can even open up the Notes app on your phone. And I want you to spend some time asking yourself, what is the lie you are believing right now about yourself and debt? About your money and debt, about your income and debt. Start exactly where you are. Call it out for a lie, because ultimately it doesn't necessarily come down to your income. It comes down to the choices, the decisions you make with that money. Now, I will, of course, throw in a caveat that there are many people living in poverty that are struggling to pull themselves out. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the average American, the average person that you make enough money to cover your regular expenses, and maybe a lot of your extra money is going towards student loans, credit cards, car loans, just things that you've acquired over time, and you're ready to get rid of that debt. You can make a modest income and still become debt-free, live a comfortable, good life, and build wealth. But it starts with decisions. It starts with a plan. And I know that because that's exactly what we've done. The second thing that I wish I knew, personally me, this is not my husband. He didn't need to know this. I needed to know this in advance, that motivation fades. It will come and go. But the plan you make, the discipline you have, that's what keeps you going when it comes to paying off debt. And boy, was this a big lesson for me. I remember there were many times whenever I was just ready to give up. Paying off debt for 4.5 years, feeling like you're sacrificing for 4.5 years, that, I can't even imagine trying to stay disciplined that entire time. That motivation, that internal drive, that like dopamine you get at the very beginning when you're starting your journey, that goes away. And that is when many people stop working to pay off debt. They're sick and tired of it. They say, no, I don't want to live that life anymore. And they don't have the plan or the discipline for them to stay on track. And so that was a huge lesson for me because I was ready to give up. We were both teachers. There were summers whenever my husband and I both had off at the same time. Yes, we taught summer school, we did side hustles, but there were blocks of time when I just wanted to spend money. I am the spender in our relationship, which is crazy because now I have a whole business teaching people how to manage their money. But there were times when I was like, you know what? Let's not do this anymore. This was a nice run. We had a good time, but let's call it a day. I'm all done. The motivation faded for me many times. And if I didn't have an actual plan to follow, if I didn't know like step 1, I'm doing this, step 2, I'm doing this, step 3, I'm doing this, if I didn't have that, then I would have given up. Honestly, I would have. You're not going to feel inspired every day. You're not going to want to pay off debt every day. And that is totally normal. It doesn't make you bad at paying off debt. It doesn't make you irresponsible. It makes you human. We can't expect to always be 100% all the time when it comes to anything in our life, just like working out. I need to get back into working out and I really don't want to. My motivation has faded, but I know that once I start getting into it and I start working out, I will look forward to it. And then there's going to come times whenever I just want to break and I don't want to work out. But if I want to keep my consistent motivation and discipline going, I know I have to show up even when I don't want to. Paying off debt is the same way. You need a plan to follow. That's whenever you're actually going to make progress. A plan that you don't have to think about, you don't have to spend your mental energy coming up with. And if you need a plan, I have a debt-free roadmap. I'll put a link to it down below. This roadmap literally walks you through step by step how to pay off debt, how to come up with a plan that will work for you. So that way when your motivation fades, because it will, not gonna lie, it will, you can stay on track. I used to think whenever we first started our debt-free journey, I thought that I had to make the right choices every single time. I thought that I had to be focused. I had to stay motivated. The truth is that you don't need to be perfect. This is not going to be a perfect journey, but you do need to be consistent. And how do we be consistent? You have a plan. You have a strategy. That's why my action tip for you now is to come up with a plan for paying off debt. What is your roadmap? Are you going to follow the debt snowball method? Are you going to follow the debt avalanche method? Do you have a goal for how much money you want to send extra to debt every single month? Do you have a timeline that you are a loose timeline that you're trying to follow? Do you have a debt-free goal date? That is what a plan looks like. And like I said, I lay it all out in my debt-free roadmap. You can grab that download for free. I'll send it straight to your inbox down below. Get the link. The third thing that I wish I knew about paying off debt before getting started, and looking back, like, there's no way I would have known this. I even think that if someone would have told me this, I would have been like, no, not me. Don't say those things to me. Like, maybe that's you, but it's not me. And it's that paying off debt changes you. Like, I truly believe that it completely can transform you and your relationship with money. And here's why I say that. Whenever we were deciding to pay off debt, I will never forget. I said, okay, I'll pay off this debt. I'll get on a budget. I'll do it. I don't want to do it, but I'll do it. And I'll do this until we become debt free. But then after we reach that goal, once we hit that number, I'm done. Don't ask me to write another budget. Don't ask me to be responsible with my money, because I like spending money and I don't want this piece of paper or a budget to tell me what I can and cannot do. I truly had that belief. I believed, okay, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to pay off this debt, and then that's it. I wash my hands of it, and I'm not going to worry about money and being financially responsible ever again. I believed that. Oh, sweet Lily wanted to come and say hi. Yeah. And she's off playing around. I'm just going to let her go and do her thing. Don't even know if you can see her right now. Paying off debt is not just about the numbers. It's not just about math. It's not just about money. It truly changes who you are. Let me explain. Paying off debt forced me to really look at the way I was spending my money and ask myself different questions about my spending. It helped me see, okay, what are the habits? What are my triggers? Why am I wanting to spend money when I'm happy, when I'm sad, when I'm mad, when I'm glad? What is happening behind the scenes with my money? Do I even like the way that I spend money? What do I value spending money on? It really highlighted, honestly, just like my habits, my spending, just my triggers when it came to money. I had to finally confront them, honestly. And I had to ask myself, do I like this about me? And a lot of it, I didn't. I did not like how I was using money as a comfort for whenever I was uncomfortable or bored. I didn't like that I was using money and food, like going out to eat and buying food, as a way to celebrate something, because I felt like even though I achieved a goal, I needed to celebrate by spending money. Whereas like sometimes just achieving the goal is a celebration in and of itself. Paying off debt taught me so much about myself. It highlighted parts of me that I decided no longer serve me. It gave me the time, the years of time. Oh, goodness. What are you doing? It gave me the years of time and practice with spending, the practice of making those decisions day in and day out, month in and month out, to honestly like change my relationship with money, how I see money, and how I spend money. And that is something I was not expecting. I honestly thought paying off debt would just change my financial situation, right? Like it would change my bank account, but it changed so much more than my bank account. I mean, I started a business. I became passionate about it. I didn't see that coming. No one did. Paying off debt is not just about the money. It is about trusting yourself, learning to make the decisions that future you will look back and say, thank you for doing that. Thank you for making that responsible decision. It can just totally transform not just your relationship with money, but if you're doing this alongside a partner, it can change that relationship. I'm a firm believer it can shape your children's relationship with money. I like to think, how is my relationship with money shaping the way my children see and interact with money? Because that's going to impact them when they become adults. And my hope, right? Fingers crossed. My hope is that my kids are seeing we value spending money on things that are important for us. For me personally, that looks like not driving a nice brand new car that has that amazing fresh car smell. Instead, it looks like making sure we are paying all of our bills on time, not going back into debt, and then taking experiences. Also, I feel like my kids are seeing my husband and I communicate openly about money and in a way that is not triggering. It is not an argument. And so they're seeing us when we do have conversations about money. And there are still times whenever we have to make hard decisions about money, or maybe there are disagreements or we have to talk through a money problem. They get to see us talk through that with a level head, respect, and looking and making those decisions based off of data, not just our feelings. My hope for you is that as you're paying off debt, I want you to be open to how it impacts you, not just financially, but with your mindset and your feelings. Honestly, having a couple of journal prompt questions can really help you kind of think through that, because it's a little bit of a deeper thinking exercise. It could be as simple as, how do you feel about money now? Like right now, in this moment, do you like the way you feel about money? Because maybe you have a wonderful, healthy relationship with your money and you're like, I love the way I feel. Great. But you might realize, like I did, I don't really like this. This doesn't feel good to me. So how do you feel about money now? Do you like it? And then how do you want to feel about money? How do you want to feel about your spending? For me personally, when it comes to money, I don't want to feel stressed. I can tell you what I don't want. I don't want stress. I don't want arguments. I don't want feeling like I'm being like closed in a cave. I don't want to feel like I don't have choices or options. So then when I think about how do I want to feel about money, I want to have peace of mind. I want to have security. I want to have confidence that I can make wise decisions. And I want to feel free, light and free. Like I have choices. I have options. Options and choices in your life come from money. What do I mean by that? I mean, we don't have debt payments other than our mortgage. So that gives us the ability to have more freedom than we would if we had 2 car loans and a credit card we were paying off and a student loan. We don't have that, so we have more options and choices. Take time to just write down in your notes app on your phone or a journal and really think about how you feel about money, if you like it, and what you want to feel about money in the end. If you're starting your debt-free journey, or if you're in the middle of it, maybe you started your debt-free journey and you gave up and you're coming back and you're like, oh my gosh, I need this to work. I want you to know it's not going to be perfect. It's not. You will not be motivated every single day. And when you lose that motivation and you want to give up, it is your plan, consistency, and discipline that will keep you going. It is so worth it. I had to keep that idea in my mind while we were paying off debt. I was willing to sacrifice now in this moment of time so that I could live in abundance the rest of my life. It's so easy to get trapped in the present moment and to only focus on what you feel right now and what you want right now. That is human nature. But instead, I want you to forward think about that security and peace of mind and how amazing it is going to be whenever you have paid off your debt and you have that freedom. It's not going to be perfect. You're not gonna stay motivated all the time. That's okay. It doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It just means that you need a plan. If you're working to pay off debt, or if you have started your debt-free journey and you've stopped and started and stopped, or maybe you're brand new, please check out my video all about the first 5 things that we did to pay off over $100,000 of debt. It is really packed with tips, helpful strategies, like step-by-step ways for you to get started. I just know you're going to love it. What are you taking away from this? Which action step are you going to implement? Let me know. I read every single comment and I will also respond. Okay, I'll be back soon with another video. Bye.